1763. With the 7 Years' War concluded, the British Empire stands victorious, claiming vast new lands across North America. Yet, to protect these frontiers, the Crown draws a strict line, limiting westward expansion and stoking the first embers of colonial frustration. As the dust settles, a massive national debt weighs heavily on Britain. Parliament looks across the Atlantic for a solution, expecting the colonies to share the financial burden of their own defense. But the colonists see it differently. With no voice in the British Parliament, they unite under a powerful rallying cry. Taxation without representation violates their fundamental rights as Englishmen. Trade regulations tighten, and iconic figures like John Hancock navigate a risky world of underground commerce, bypassing steep imperial duties that threaten colonial prosperity. The passing of the Stamp Act triggers an uproar. From town squares to printing presses, the colonists make their displeasure known, forcing the Crown to reconsider its approach. Inside Westminster, legendary statesman William Pitt the Elder fiercely challenges his peers, warning that taxing the colonies without their consent strikes at the very root of the Constitution. Peace is short-lived. New taxes on everyday goods introduced by the Townshend Acts spark fresh boycotts, dividing communities between loyal supporters of the Crown and growing patriot movements. To maintain order, thousands of British regular troops step ashore in Boston, turning a bustling commercial port into a tense, militarized zone watched closely by an uneasy populace. Tension finally snaps on a cold March night in 1770. A hostile crowd surrounds a small British Guard detachment on King Street, creating an explosive standoff. In the tragic aftermath, 5 locals lose their lives. The event becomes a powerful piece of propaganda, driving emotions to a dangerous high and cementing deep divisions. At sea, defiance grows bolder. When a royal customs schooner runs aground, local patriots take direct action, striking a symbolic blow against imperial enforcement. Prints and pamphlets circulate rapidly through the towns, shaping public memory and ensuring that the events in Boston are never forgotten by the wider colonies. In September 1774, leaders from across the colonies gather in Philadelphia for the First Continental Congress, laying the foundation for a collective political response. Across New England, local citizen soldier militias train with quiet urgency, anticipating that diplomacy alone will not solve the deepening crisis. When word breaks of a secret British expedition to seize hidden provisions, patriot riders mount up in the dead of night to spread the alarm across the countryside. At dawn on Lexington Green, a small line of colonial militia meets an advancing column of British troops, setting the stage for history. A single shot rings out. In a matter of minutes, a brief exchange alters the course of history forever, transforming political protest into open conflict. On the long march back from Concord, the British columns face relentless pressure as colonial marksmen line the roads, turning the retreat into a legendary tactical challenge. Within weeks, thousands of patriot militia encircle Boston, trapping the British forces inside the city and beginning a historic siege. On the heights overlooking Boston, the two sides clash in a fierce struggle that proves the colonial militia can stand firm against professional soldiers. Though the ground is lost, the defenders earn hard-won respect, proving that the upcoming war will be long, costly, and fiercely contested. To the north, bold action secures vital supplies as Ethan Allen captures the strategic fortress of Ticonderoga without a shot fired. In a remarkable logistical feat, Henry Knox transports those heavy guns across hundreds of miles of snow and ice to supply the American lines. Beneath the elm trees of Cambridge, George Washington steps forward to take command of the newly formed Continental Army, bringing unity and military structure to the cause. With Knox's artillery positioned above the city, the British realize their position is untenable and evacuate Boston, marking a major psychological victory for the Patriots. Even as fighting spreads, moderate leaders make a final plea for peace to King George III, but the petition is rejected, extinguishing the last hopes for reconciliation. Fueling the shift toward total separation, Thomas Paine publishes Common Sense, persuading thousands of everyday people that a new world and an independent republic are within reach. In Philadelphia, a committee drafts a formal declaration, boldly proclaiming self-evident truths about liberty, equality, and the right to self-governance. On July 2nd, Congress votes for independence, and 2 days later, adopts the historic document that officially gives birth to the United States of America. Publicly read to cheering crowds across the states, the Declaration turns a rebellion into a revolutionary war for national sovereignty. By late 1776, the war turns grim for the Americans under heavy pressure. In a moment of supreme audacity, Washington leads his depleted army across an ice-choked river on Christmas night. Catching the enemy completely off guard at Trenton, the bold winter strike revitalizes colonial morale when hope seems nearly lost. The harsh winter at Valley Forge tests the Army's endurance to its absolute limits, transforming a ragtag group of survivors into a hardened, disciplined force. In New York, a massive British army is completely surrounded and forced to surrender at Saratoga, proving to the world that the American cause can prevail. Capitalizing on this monumental success, Benjamin Franklin secures a formal military and financial alliance with the French court, turning the regional conflict into a global war, demonstrating newfound professional discipline instilled by European training. The Continental Army matches the British blow for blow under the scorching summer sun at Monmouth. Out on the open seas, daring captains like John Paul Jones take the fight directly to European waters, challenging British naval dominance. The strategic focus shifts southward, where British forces mount a major campaign, capturing Charleston and aiming to roll back Patriot control. To counter British control in the south, ingenious militia leaders like Francis Marion wage effective guerrilla warfare from the dense, protective swamps. Brilliant tactical maneuvering at Cowpens deals a severe blow to the British Southern strategy, showcasing the growing sophistication of American military leadership. Seizing a golden opportunity, Washington and his French allies execute a massive secret relocation of forces, marching rapidly south toward Virginia. Off the coast, a decisive French naval victory seals the Chesapeake Bay, cutting off any possibility of British escape or reinforcement by sea. Trapped on the Yorktown Peninsula, British forces face a relentless combined siege as Allied artillery relentlessly narrows their perimeter. Surrounded by land and sea, the British Army lays down its arms at Yorktown, effectively deciding the outcome of the war for independence. When news of the defeat reaches London, political reality sets in, forcing Parliament and the Crown to recognize that the conflict can no longer be sustained. Diplomats gather in Paris to sign the historic peace treaty, formally acknowledging the complete independence and sovereignty of the United States. In a profound moment that sets a permanent democratic precedent, General Washington peacefully returns his military commission to Congress, choosing civilian life over absolute power. From a fragile collection of protesting colonies emerges a new nation, ready to test the enduring strength of freedom on the global stage.
Empires rise, empires fall, but stories live forever. Hit like, subscribe, and let us know what era to explore next. Thank you for watching.